So we're going to have a look at our controls down at the bottom here and also have a look at modulation. So where this plugin comes to life, as we've already seen, is where we can actually use the XY controller to move between the two sound sources and also introduce modulation into sound or movement into the sound. Like so, and you can see all these controls moving at the bottom here as we do so. So what's going on here? Well, let's bring this down to the bottom. We have 5 controls here. Let's take them in turn. The first one is attack. So this is like a basic envelope control, which is going to control the amount of time it takes the sound to reach its maximum point. So it's like a bowed kind of effect. So it's going to slowly fade in as opposed to being much more immediate. Like so. Just going to change this so it's off the pentatonic scale. Okay, then we have a release control here. Now this is going to determine how long it takes the sound to tail out once we let go of the key, essentially. So using both of these, we have a long attack or slow attack, a long release. We get that kind of quite soft paddy effect. Like so. Okay, so we'll come back to how this relates to modulation. And then we have motion. Now, motion we can switch on and off using the little power button here. And in addition, we can change the shape as well between a square wave and a sine wave, as you can see there. So motion's going to introduce some movement into the sound. Let's try on a different preset. So you can hear that kind of volume swelling. Now in addition, we click on this little plus button, we have the ability to change the frequency, which is the speed of this modulation, and also the intensity. So it's like a tremolo effect. So it can be quite gentle, or much more pronounced, and we can also fade it in as well, should we wish. Really nice. So that's our kind of motion, our tremolo effect. And then we have this mask parameter here. Let's just switch the motion off for now. Click on the plus button again, and we get cutoff and resonance controls that would be used to from a filter. And we can hear that trademark filter at work there. And then finally, we have this tape effect here. So this is like a tape saturation effect. Switch it off. And we have some options here, gain and warmth. So it serves to make the sound a bit fuller, a bit fatter. Remember, you can change the gain and warmth controls to get that exactly dialed in how you like. So that's the tape setting. And then we have our effects over here. So much like the sound sources, we can click on the little browser option and they're categorized as simple or complex. And we can choose from reverbs, delays, degradation, modulation. So let's try some of these. Let's try fly away. Turn it off. Let's take this one off as well. So pretty huge sounding. Let's bring the second one in, and let's come onto the browser again, and let's try complex delay. Let's try shimmer. Shimmer effect's always nice. So this is like a pitch drop delay. Pretty epic. So we can further, push the sound where we want it to go using those two effects chains that we have at our disposal. Okay, so let's have a look at how these relate to modulation. Okay, let's switch these off just for now. Okay, so let's bring the modulation control down to the bottom. So when we're on any of these controls, the amount we want the modulation slider, so the y-axis, to affect any of these parameters, we can dictate using these little arrows here. So let's say we wanted the attack to increase as we increase the modulation control. Release is already set up. Let's bring the motion slider down. Let's increase that as well. We could even take this even further, and we could increase the amount of intensity which is affected by modulation, the frequency as well. Let's come onto the mask, the filter. We can open that up a little bit. Let's increase the resonance a little bit using the mod option as well. Same with the tape. You get the picture. So we could even do this negatively. So let's say we wanted the tape to decrease as we increase the modulation slider here. Let's bring the effects in. We'll increase that over the duration of the slider too, and the same with the shimmer effect. So now what we should hear when we have this all the way down to the bottom is none of these at work. And we should see and hear these increasing as we increase the modulation on the y-axis there. So now we have the ability to morph between either A or B. Let's just randomize these so we have something different to listen to. So we can move between A or B, and we can introduce the effects like so for each one. So it's kind of comparatively dry. You can make it even more dry if we take this all the way down. Let's push it a bit more extreme. So you can hear how much that opens up as we increase that modulation. And obviously, as I said, you can do the same for source A. Alternatively, we could blend between the two. Like so. Now, I said you can change the shape of the motion control. Let's bring this up. Switch these off. So we can choose to have more of that kind of square wave shape rather than this sine wave we had before. Like so. And those are our kind of like macro controls and other Native Instruments plugins, but they're just our sound design controls, I suppose. And then our two effects chains there as well, and how they relate to modulation. So remember, we have attack to allow us to fade the sound in, essentially, release to allow it to gradually tail out, motion to add movement, like a tremolo effect. We have square and sine wave settings here. And in addition, we can click on this little plus button and we get an intensity, which is the amount of, or the depth of modulation, frequency, which is the speed, and fading allows us to fade that up. And remember, for each one of these, we can link these to modulation. Mask is a filter. We have cutoff and resonance. It's just a low pass filter. We don't have any other options for that. Tape allows you to add in tape saturation. And then we have our effects chains here. We can click on here to choose from simple or complex, and we have modulation, degradation, delay, or reverb. So degradation is going to be like bit crushing and things like that. And we have two of those we can choose from. And remember, for modulation, anytime you see these little arrows on the side. You'd probably be used to these if you've used any other Native Instruments plugins. That gives you your range of how much the modulation, so the y-axis of the XY controller, is going to affect these parameters. So if you wanted to fade up the filter or bring up the filter, you can choose how much you're going to be increasing it over the range of the y-axis there. So really cool, allows you to bring sounds to life and add kind of emotion and movement into your sounds very easily. Okay, so now we've covered the modulation side of things. Next up, we're going to have a look at randomization, the scale option here, and also the aftertouch. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.